Frankie from Flatbush rides the Brooklyn line. Got a swagger sharp like a vintage wine. Everybody knows his name from porch to stoop. Hustling dreams in every loop. In the park he struts, hits the handball wall. Echoes hear the stories when the shadows fall. Got 1,000 tales and a confident grin. On the streets of Flatbush where legends begin. Frankie from Flatbush got the city glow, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go. Bodega lights flicker when Frankie's near. He's got the rhythm, everybody cheers. Corner talks and sidewalk chalks his fame. In the Flatbush breeze you'll hear his name. Underneath the subway hum, the magic's real. Frankie's moves got that electric feel. From Atlantic Avenue to the urban hill, Flatbush Frankie's giving you a thrill. Frankie from Flatbush got the city glow, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go.
Mic test. We have emergency breaking news. Mic test. Let me know if you can hear me in the chat. Okay. Breaking news. Unconfirmed, only one source, but it seems like possibly could be, though not yet official. So there's one source. That source is Josina Anderson, saying that the Jets have indeed hired Darren Mougey. However, Zach Rosenblatt is now saying the Jets have not informed any GM finalist about whether they have or have not gotten the job yet, according to sources. So we have dueling information. Doesn't mean they don't know who will ultimately get the job, but there hasn't been an offer yet, according to Zach Rosenblatt. Now, this contradicts an earlier report by Josina Anderson that said about 30 minutes ago, breaking, a high-level source tells me Denver Broncos assistant GM Darren Mougey is getting the Jets GM job. Is getting. So it's possible both of these things are true, because, a verbal offer could have been proffered to Mr. Mougey and his representatives. So basically, the assumption would be that he would take it, but it's also possibly true that it's not officially official until Mougey signs off on it or gives verbal inclination that yes, we'll definitively take it. So it's a little bit early, but I saw a couple of people were running with the story, so I figured I'd go live and see if we could maybe even be on the air when the official news comes. Now, what's going on? In case you're late to the news, basically we have dueling news reports. One from Josina Anderson saying that former assistant general manager of your Denver Broncos, Darren Mougey, is getting the Jets GM job. However, Zach Rosenblatt just 1 minute ago has come on to the X platform to announce that, quote, the Jets have not informed any GM finalist about whether they have or have not gotten the job yet, according to sources. And I would trust Zach Rosenblatt's sources on something like this. Doesn't mean they don't know who will ultimately get the job, but there hasn't been an offer yet, says Zach Rosenblatt. Now, Josina Anderson is usually correct, and she's usually ahead of the curve, if you want to know the truth. So she is a reporter who writes things in very funny ways. She sometimes is cryptic. She has a unique way of reporting sometimes. But on the other side, she's almost always correct in the end, even if she's cryptic at times, and then she goes back and says, see, I was being cryptic about this, but I couldn't announce it, but I was kind of telling you without telling you. So Josina Anderson is very reliable, I would say. So I think both of these things could be true. It could be that Mooge will ultimately get the job, but that perhaps no official offer has been made. Maybe it's a tentative offer. Maybe it's an offer sheet. We don't know. Michael Palermo is here. Good to see you, Michael. He says, okay, I guess that's about my audio. Thank you very much. We often have problems on this channel with our hardware. So I appreciate that. Let me know if anybody can confirm the audio is good, the video is good. We got all kinds of problems on this channel. We're not exactly technical geniuses over here. PC Salami says, well, Raiders hired Carroll. At least one team had the sense to hire a Super Bowl winning coach. Yeah, and I actually think that's a great hire for the Raiders. I have two thoughts about Carroll to the Raiders. Number one, that's a very unstable franchise since Mark Davis took over, to say the least. And so now they hire a Pete Carroll, and Pete Carroll's gonna, he's gonna straighten things out. He's gonna give you some stability. He knows what he's doing. He's a Super Bowl winning coach. He's young for his age. Everyone points to his age, and everybody wants to be an ageist around here. But he's young for his age. You interact. Anybody who interacts with Pete Carroll would know he's not your typical 73-year-old. Tons of energy still, and so he's going to stabilize that franchise. I think so. It's a good move. Now, on the other hand, the other thought I have about the Raiders is like, what value is Tom Brady bringing to that organization? Exactly. Could they not have hired Pete Carroll without Tom Brady being there? We keep hearing in the media what a great, all about Tom Brady. Everybody in the media just has to BJ Tom Brady till the end of time, I guess. He's a terrible announcer. And he counts 12 people on the field, and everybody says, "Oh my God, well, this guy's great." Well, he counted to 12. He's a terrible announcer. And now they say, okay, well, now he's got his own, he's an owner of the Raiders. He's a minority owner, minority share owner, and he's going to do all these great things as the owner. Oh my God, he's going to help Mark Davis. It's going to be unbelievable. He's going to be able to recruit all these people. He's going to give them fresh ideas. He knows what it takes to win. All these things the media told us. And what happened? Ben Johnson told him to take a hike. Liam Cohen told him to take a hike. And they wound up with Pete Carroll, which anybody could have gotten Pete Carroll to take that job. It's a good job for Pete Carroll, and it's a good match for them. So what do you need Tom Brady for? That's what I want to know. What is the value of Tom Brady? Maybe it's in the quarterbacks he's going to be able to attract in the free agent market. I don't know, because they'll be able to learn from Tom Brady, the owner. I mean, what is going on? But anyway, now they're talking about maybe a reuniting Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson. What about that? What if the Raiders reunited Pete Carroll and old Russell Wilson? What about that? You think the Raider fans are going to be excited about that? So I think it's a good hire for the Raiders. Good job. Let's get some stability in here. We tried a bunch of things that didn't work. Let's get somebody stable who knows what the heck they're doing. An experienced guy. It's hard to argue with Pete Carroll's track record of success, whether it's the pros or college or what have you. So I think it's a good hire. I just don't understand all of this constant filleting that goes on in the media of Tom Brady. I mean, it's like, Jesus Christ, can you guys get off this guy's jockstrap already? For God's sakes. I mean, so far he's proven to be a very bad announcer, and what he's done for the Raiders is exactly zero. Ben Johnson told him to go jump in a lake. No, I'm not going there. Get out of here. Well, supposedly had an hours-long Zoom call. If he had an hours-long Zoom call with Tom Brady, and then at the end of it, Ben Johnson said, "No, thank you," what's the value of Tom Brady? What is he doing? That's what I'd like to know. So, but now we're just sort of waiting. We went live because we got a report from Josina Anderson, who's normally very, very accurate. Say what you want about Josina. She presents information in say unique ways. Sometimes, excuse me. But nonetheless, she broke the news 37 minutes ago. Breaking, she says, quote, a high-level source tells me, high-level league source tells me Denver Broncos assistant general manager Darren Mougey, Darren Mougey, is getting the Jets GM job. That's the quote from Josina Anderson, who is typically very, very accurate as a journalist. But then Zach Rosenblatt put something out 8 minutes ago that says the Jets have, quote, the Jets have not informed any GM finalist about whether they have or have not gotten the job yet, according to sources for Zachy Rosenblatt. Doesn't mean they don't know who will ultimately get the job, but there hasn't been an offer yet, according to Zach Rosenblatt 8 minutes ago. And then the Jet Press was reposted by Zach Rosenblatt, basically just saying what I just said. That the Rosenblatt information doesn't necessarily contradict Josina's information. It's just that they both could be right, which is what I said in the beginning. So they both could be right. It could be Mougey. We're waiting on official word, but thought I would hop on here, see what you guys thought about old Darren Mougey. We can go through some of his information. There's a new community tab post by me on the Frankie from Flatbush channel if you want to check that out, which details some of the bios, if you will, of Darren Mougey and Trey Brown, who seem to be the two finalists for the job. So if you want to check that out, feel free. There's nothing from the national media either. That made me wonder. Usually once one of them breaks something, they all have it. However, Josina is a little bit different in that sometimes she does have unique information. A lot of the times these journalists all have the same information at the same time. And that's because they receive a group text from the agent at the same time. Josina often will have unique information. That's why she's a good follow, I would say, on X. And so nobody has followed up on this report by Josina. In other words, none of the national people, Ian Shefty, Irie Myroff, all these people. Nobody else has said anything about this except for Josina and Zach Rosenblatt. Curiously, Connor Hughes also quiet at the moment. Usually moments like this, you will hear from Connor Hughes because Connor Hughes will be the official mouthpiece of the Jets a lot of the times. And so if the Jets wanted to contradict something, they would usually do that through Connor Hughes. But it doesn't seem like that's happening. So there's still lots and lots to talk about. For example, this Raiders of hiring of Pete Carroll. I think it's a good hire for the Raiders. I don't understand why Tom Brady gets a lot of credit for helping them. But nonetheless, I do think it is a good hire by Mark Davis to get somebody in there to stabilize that franchise. Now they got to think about quarterback. And you wonder if it's the Russell Wilson show 2.0 in the Vegas desert, re-teaming up old Pete Carroll and his old quarterback that went to the Super Bowl with, Russell Wilson. So we'll have to see about that one. Indy Jets is here. Good to see you, Indy Jets. Oh, Matic. That intro is fire. Yeah, people seem to like that song. That's the Frankie from Flatbush theme song. It's also available in audio and official video format on this channel. In case you just want to listen to it randomly on your own, you can do so. Todd is here. Good to see you, Todd. Howdy. Let's hope everything's going okay down on the farm. If you had some food today, thank a farmer, as they say. If you ate some food today, thank a farmer. All right. So we're going to scour the internet for news, breaking news, see if there's any follow-up on this. But Josina is not putting anything out to contradict Zach. Rosenblatt, and none of the other Jet media are posting anything about it. So we'll continue to wait, but we can certainly take a look, just in case he does get the job, at who the heck is this Darren Mougey guy? Who is this guy? Anyways, we can take a look. We can take a look if we can get our technology to work. We can take a look at this guy. Who is this Darren Mougey guy, anyways? Well, here's a headline. He certainly will be a GM down the road, is the headline. This is from 2022, written by Eric, not Eric, Dilala. Eric Dilala. He certainly will be a GM down the road, is the title. How assistant GM Darren Mougey became an invaluable member of the Broncos front office. There he is, Mr. Mooge. Now, this is a tall fella. He's 6'6". Oh, let's get rid of this here. So, Mougey was 36 at that time. He's a very young guy, so that's one thing you could be concerned about. Maybe he doesn't have enough experience, but he does have a lot of experience. Trusted confidant of George Paton, the general manager of the Broncos, has enjoyed those moments, blah, blah, blah. He's still young. He'll continue to learn and get better, but he certainly will be a GM down the road, Paton says. So this is a guy that's been identified as an up-and-comer. Now, he played quarterback. You can see, look at the intensity. He's intense. Look at those eyes. He was a quarterback at San Diego State, and then they turned him into a wide receiver, 6'6". And he made it to, he was a teammate of Kevin O'Connell, so he has ties to KOC. So that's kind of interesting. But he became like a practice squad guy in the NFL. And then he went into scouting, and he's worked his way up as a scout. There he is as a receiver, climbed the ranks. Now his mentors are Dave Ziegler, Russell, and then Champ Kelly. Who's Russell? But these are pretty good. I mean, Ziegler didn't work out, but Ziegler was somebody from the Patriots side that went over to the Raiders. And then you got Champ Kelly. So that's not too bad. And here's what Paton had to say. His organizational skills, detail, ability to manage people, had a great feel for the draft. One of the better evaluators I've been around. And so he shined quickly. So let's hope this guy's a really good talent evaluator. If we indeed get him. I knew he was going to be a fast riser. So this is a guy who moved up in the ranks very quickly. This is a quote that I like right here. Whether it's a practice squad guy we may sign or may cut, or even if it's just a guy we're going to peek at as soon as a possible option, every decision is very important and has a thorough process, Mooge said. That's one thing I've taken from him, George Paton, that every decision matters and a thorough process goes into every single decision, even some that seem small to others. And this is right. You have to get those fringe roster decisions correct. They're very important. If you're wasting draft picks at the middle rounds, the end of the rounds, that's not good. I just thought he's earned it. He shined in all aspects, pro, college, coach search, transactions, dealing with agents. So the whole part of the scouting process, but it's just not football. When you're in the front office, you have to manage people, and he does a really good job of that. So I think he's got the whole package. He's only going to get better. And so, well, this one they signed him, so I didn't want to lose him, blah, blah, blah. You're going to lose him now, seemingly. Here they are, Paton and Mooge. He's got all the traits you want. He's got all the traits you want. Great with people, great evaluator. I mean, so this is a good candidate right here, as far as I can tell. Now here's a red flag. No, this guy is. Anybody recognize this guy? Anybody recognize him? He's got a mask on. Can you recognize that gentleman? You know, you might not want to make too much of the connection between these two gentlemen. You might not. You might not. Might not want to highlight that one. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Going once, going twice. That would be Nathaniel Hackett, the Hack Man. Now, the reason you might not want to make too much of this if you were Darren Mougey, because somebody might say, well, wait a minute. If we hire Mougey, maybe he wants to keep Hackett on the staff and keep Rodgers and keep the Rodgers-Hackett connection going. Jets Chaos is here. Good to see Jeremy in the chat. Yeah, man, it's emergency live stream, dude. It's emergency time. The Renaissance is beginning. And it could be that we get Bougie Darren Mougey to be our next general manager. Now, as we've been discussing, has been dueling reports. Let's go back to the X machine and see if there's any updates. There are not. And so we still don't have any more information about this. Unfortunately, we had a report for those who came in late. We had a report from Josina Anderson that the job is going to Bougie Darren Mougey. And everybody kind of ran with that one. And then Zach Rosenblatt came out and said the Jets actually have not informed any GM finalist yet about it. TL says Hackett looks like a terminal illness patient in that patient. Yeah, it was COVID times. Obviously, he's got the mask on, TL. So it was COVID times. Not a flattering picture of Hackett, but just the fact that there's a connection. Somebody could say, okay, well, if they get Mougey, then they're going to keep Hackett and they're going to keep Rodgers and do that. Now, somebody could say that. I don't know that that's true, but really doubt that. But people like to make these kind of connections. EJ says, what's the reporting structure? I don't think we know, but if we had to guess, I think it's going to be Glenn and the GM Mougey reporting to Woody. If I had to guess, that is what if you look at some things around the league, that's what the Patriots gave to Vrabel. And so I think the Jets did something similar for Aaron Glenn, because they had to give a lot of things to Aaron Glenn to get him. And so one of the things they probably gave him is like, okay, we're going to have co-equal reporting structure up to Woody. And it works either way on these teams. There's no one set way to do things. We've tried both ways and nothing's worked, obviously. So to me, we've tried it both ways. And nothing's worked because we haven't got the quarterback right in some time. So Sam Darnold has been voted the NFL's most improved player by the PFWA, Pro Football Writers Association. Elaine Bennis worked for in Seinfeld. Darren Mougey. So one of the questions is, what are the Saints going to do? Peter Schrager has a tweet out saying, Obvious names with Saints history for the outstanding Saints head coaching job: Joe Brady and Mike McCarthy. So that's where they could go. Of course, the Dallas Cowboys is still out there as well, though it's looking like maybe they're going to go with Brian Schottenheimer of all people. I'll have to see what they ultimately decide. Does not appear as though there's any update. So let's continue to look at Darren Mougey. Oh, Pittman. Mr. Pittman. Well, let's continue to look at Mr. Mougey. Maybe not too many of us were thinking about Darren Mougey when we started our day today. Darren Webster Moody, D-Dub, born in Arizona, 39 years old, 6'6". So we're getting a young guy. One thing you could criticize, if you wanted to criticize, you could say maybe a little inexperienced, because he started as a scouting intern 13 years ago. You know, it's kind of a fast rise, though this is, 13 years of, you could say, front office experience. Shouldn't that be enough? I guess. Other people had more. Lance Newmark had like 28 years of experience in the front office, for example. This guy's got 13. Now, this Wikipedia says he's a pretty young general manager. So Wikipedia has been updated. I didn't know that. That's funny. Somebody put that he's already our general manager in here. You wonder if the Jet fans got to Wikipedia. He isn't credited as a Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl 50. So interestingly, he came into college as a quarterback, so he has playing experience as a quarterback, and he has some experience with old Kevin O'Connell, KOC. Interesting. But then they tried him out as a wide receiver. So he went from quarterback to wide receiver. So maybe he can help us get some wide receivers in here in the draft. So that's interesting. He has experience as a quarterback and as a wide receiver. He was undrafted, but so he was a UDFA. So maybe he could talk to these UDFAs we're trying to sign and say, hey, man, I used to be you back in the day. I know what it's like. I was a UDFA. I was a guy fighting for a spot. Why don't you come over here? I know what it's all about. So that could be something. So there you go. And he just worked his way up, scouting intern, then just area scout and all that. So there you go. Now, the other thing you could say, maybe all of his experience has been in one place. Maybe you like that, maybe you don't. But it's basically been all Broncos all the time. So he only knows one organization. Now, he did go through a couple of regimes. So, there's that. Went through the Elway regime, then the Peyton regime. So, he's seen it done a couple of ways. But there you go. And Wikipedia says he's already our general manager. So I guess that's why Wikipedia is better than the old Encyclopedia Britannica, because they update it continuously and live. Continuously and live. PC Salami says, I wonder if McCarthy. Yeah, I'm thinking McCarthy ends up there more likely if they want to keep Derek Carr, because Derek Carr and Mike McCarthy are two of the adherents to the West Coast offense, whereas Joe Brady does not run a West Coast offense with old Josh Allen. He runs the Josh Allen run around and do stuff offense. So I'm not sure you want to do that with Derek Carr. Derek Carr has known West Coast offenses his whole career, mostly with John Gruden. So you take one of the older adherents to the West Coast offense with Mr. McCarthy. You pair him up with Derek Carr, and maybe that's the way they go. Maybe. Jeremy says, no way Woody will tolerate Hackett anywhere near the building. How do you know? Do we really know anything about Woody Johnson? What he's all about? I mean, now, one of the things that I've liked about this whole process, it does seem like Woody and crew are making some good decisions this cycle in terms of these hires and how they did it. In other words, how did they get Aaron Glenn to be the head coach? Aaron Glenn is a top 3, depending, maybe top 2, candidate this cycle. There were 7 openings for head coaching jobs, and Aaron Glenn got requests for all 7. He went 7 for 7 for requests. So obviously he's highly in demand, and we got him. And the Jets stink. The Jets are in the ghetto, as I have said 1,000 times. The NFL is a city. You got a ghetto, you got a middle class neighborhood, and you got the gated community. The Jets are in the ghetto and have been since 2012. So why would a guy who is in great demand, Aaron Glenn, want to come to the ghetto and work for this crazy place where we talk about Madden ratings and Brick Johnson, the 17-year-old, having influence and giving out game balls and whatnot? Well, one of the reasons is because of the decisions that Woody and team made in terms of, let's hire him first and then give him not only the financial, I'm sure they're giving out a boatload of money, but in addition to that, we're going to also give him a say in who the general manager is. We're going to let him, probably let him pick which one of the 3 he wanted, the 3 finalists. And all of that is pretty smart in terms of how do we get a hot candidate, whether you like him or not for us, I want offense, I want experience, whatever it may be. He's a hot candidate. I don't think anybody could dispute that. And he decided to come to the Jets. So now that gives me some optimism that Woody and crew could make some good decisions, because that seems like a good decision and good decision-making process. At the same time, claiming to know with certainty what Woody's going to tolerate and not tolerate, we don't know. We don't know. Maybe Mooge convinced him Hackett's the man for the job. We don't know. Oh, TL has a good idea here. Yeah, let's look at Wikipedia. This is a good idea. Maybe Wikipedia has been updated with Nick Haley's. Let's see. No, that's not. So this is TL. Good idea. Good idea, TL. Good effort. Good effort. You get an A for effort on that one. But Wikipedia for Nick Haley. I'm going to pronounce that very clearly. Somebody said I was saying Nikki Haley yesterday. Nick Haley. We're going to need a nickname for him. It just lists his Los Angeles Rams 2024 to present tight ends coach and pass game coordinator. So no mention of the Jets for Mr. Haley, not Haley. But he needs a nickname. Nick Haley, not Nikki Haley. Uh-oh. Diana Rushini, Dirty Diana, is reporting 1 minute ago, quote, just felt an earthquake in New Jersey. Whether that's a literal earthquake or a figurative one, unknown. That's the tweet. Quote, just felt an earthquake in New Jersey, unquote. Anybody know if there's an actual earthquake in New Jersey? Anybody know? Would be PC says would be funny if Nikki Haley turned out to be our OC. How about Jeremy? We don't know this. We think we know, but we don't know. We don't know what to believe. You know, there's three sides to every story, Jeremy. Yours, mine, and the truth. So we don't know what the hell happened. We don't know what the hell happened. Rod says, Woody J be a prison complex warden and poor Jets players. Okay. JETS Paulie says, Dirty Diana. No. You guys know that song? That is a great song, Paulie. I got to tell you something. Paulie. I got a cousin named Paulie. Runs the great Cafe Italia restaurant in Albany. But my cousin Paulie, he's a great chef. Let me tell you something. But this song, Dirty Diana by Michael Jackson, is a great song. And it's very true. What he describes in that song going on, I can tell you from personal experience, is totally, totally true. So Dushini has not expounded upon whether it's a figurative or literal earthquake. Anybody know? Is there a reported earthquake in New Jersey? Anybody know? Bergen. Oh, somebody in their comments said Bergen County. So maybe it's an actual earthquake in New Jersey, I guess. Somebody said that was Rex Ryan showing up to ask for the job again. Some of these comments are pretty good. Some of these comments are pretty good. Somebody said Lizzo fell. Somebody else said it was the Jets hiring the wrong GM again. Some of these comments are pretty comical. I mean, listen, it's very possible that our Jet fandom is going to have to be reliant upon comedy going forward because our AFC East division is shaping up to be a pretty good division. Now we got to see what the plan is with our quarterback situation before we can make any evaluations. But as of today, right now, it's not looking too hot, and the Patriots have their situation figured out with the head coach and the quarterback, at least, and so do obviously the Bills, and so do obviously the Dolphins. But we're the one team who doesn't have that thing figured out. That's what makes me kind of nervous about all this. So yeah, Jeremy says realistically, Glenn picks his staff. Yeah, what if Mooge? Now Glenn has a connection to Mooge through Sean Payton, so maybe this has all been communicated between Glenn and Mooge, you know. But who knows? I mean, I don't know, Teal. I mean, I think they actually had a. She probably knew what she was doing. I think they actually had an earthquake. Whoa. Breaking news as of 10 seconds ago. Breaking news. News alert. For me and Rappaport, a major change in Houston. Houston, we have a problem. The Texans are moving on from offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick, sources say, after an up and down offensive season. Despite reaching the divisional round, Coach DeMeco Ryans hopes for more. Offensive line coach Chris Strausser is also Bobby Slowick fired. You thought he was a hot coordinator last year, or this year he's fired as OC of the Houston Texans. Amazing. 1 year. And he's working with a young quarterback who had one great season and one okay season this year. Took a little bit of a step back. But they made the playoffs and they won a game in both of those seasons. Not good enough. DeMeco Ryans fires Bobby Slowick and offensive line coach Chris Strausser in Houston. Houston, we have a problem. And now all the news is breaking about this. Everybody's confirming this, as opposed to Josina's report about us. But Dushini was probably just, there probably was an earthquake in New Jersey, and she knew if she wrote this sentence, people would be like, wait a minute, what's going on? Meaning something with the Jets, like they hired, Tannenbaum as GM or something. That would be a figurative earthquake. So Chimini comes in and says, more competition for the Jets in the OC market, meaning now the Texans are going to be in the market for an offensive coordinator and might snap up somebody that Glenn wants on his staff. But also Slowick is available. And it says the Jets thought, okay, this is a great sentence. Rich Chimini says the Jets thought enough of him to interview him for the HC job, but we don't know what they thought about him after they interviewed him. Like, did the interview go well? Did they really like him, or did they think he was a bum? So, but Slowick is someone that Glenn could hire, although there doesn't seem to be much of a tie between Glenn and Slowick. So now Dushini is writing cryptic tweets herself. As of 1 minute ago, Dirty Diana Rossini, quote, today is one of the busier Fridays in the NFL, period. More news to come too, ... unquote. So Dirty Diana Dushini is just writing cryptic tweets now. That's what's going on in the world of reporting. Cryptic tweets. More news to come, ... What the hell? Yeah, Venom says she's trying to be funny. Yeah, she's trying to be funny, all right. She's funny looking. DL Slowick just got the boot. Yeah. Jeremy says, I used to work in Bergen County, great Mongolian barbecue place. Bergen County? Mongolian barbecue? Are you sure you weren't eating dogs? You sure? Maybe it was dogs with some spice on them. You never know what's going on at those Mongolian barbecue places. The Mongolians, they were pretty aggressive in what they wanted to conquer and so forth. The great Phil Adams is here. Our associate from good old jolly old England. Raise a pint, boys. How's it going, Phil? It's what time is it over there? It's what? It's 6:30. It's happy hour over in jolly old England. Phil Adams is happy hour time on a Friday. Happy hour time on a Friday. So we're just we're waiting for official confirmation of the initial news that the GM job is going eventually to Darren Mougey. There was one report by Josina Anderson to that regard that he will be getting the job, though Zach Rosenblatt says it hasn't been made official just yet, and that nothing official has been decided. But Josina Anderson, about an hour ago, to recap why we're on the air here, we thought we had breaking news that we could all chew on, but based on one tweet from Josina Anderson, who is, in all fairness, usually correct. She is usually very accurate. In fact, I can't remember when she was inaccurate. But anyway, her tweet was breaking as of 1 hour ago. Breaking. A high-level league source tells me Denver Broncos assistant GM Darren Mougey is getting, that's, I guess, the key phrase, the Jets GM job, is getting. That was her tweet. Zach Rosenblatt said, actually, as of right now, nobody's been told who is getting the job. But we'll have to see. And then since then, the news broke that Bobby Slowick and the offensive line coach, Chris Strasser, are getting fired from the Texans. Get out of here. You help bring up CJ Stroud? Fine. We want to go to the Super Bowl. We're not happy with the playoffs and playoff win. Can you imagine being not happy with the playoffs and a playoff win as a Jet fan? Look, that's not good enough. The Jets will be begging to just be close to the playoffs. But D'Amico Ryans, I guess, has higher standards than we do, understandably, and he's getting rid of Slowick, who was thought of as an up-and-comer, a brilliant offensive mind, people said. Well, not brilliant enough for D'Amico Ryans. Slowick, Strasser, see you later. Get out of here. So now the Ryans, the fighting D'Amico Ryans will be in the market for an offensive coordinator going forward, and so there's more competition for Glenn's staff. Although we heard about how Aaron Glenn is putting all these people together for the last few days, so you'd think he'd have his staff, pretty much fleshed out already, even if it hasn't been announced. And we got the cryptic tweet from Dirty Diana. Yeah. Today, quote, today is one of the busier Fridays in the NFL. Now, why that is, we don't know. Why would today be one of the busier Fridays in the NFL? What's so special about today? We don't know. But she says more news to come too. ... Says Dirty Diana. Yeah. But I guess that just means, stay glued to Twitter. Like keep your eyes glued onto Twitter. Otherwise, you might miss something. So we don't have any confirmation, and we also have not heard. So the dog that is not barking right now is named Connor Hughes. Connor J. Hughes has not said a word about any of this. And so if the Jets had anything to say, positive, negative, whatever spin they would want out there, they would use Connor Hughes to do so. And he has said nothing. He is a dog that is not barking right now. So we thought we had the news, and maybe it eventually will be Mooge, but no confirmation just yet. Yeah, we don't know for sure, Venom, but maybe. I don't know, Jeremy. I mean, D'Amico Ryans hired him. How could he not be on the same page? Maybe he went wildcat. He went rogue. What page are you talking about? What, he wanted to run the ball more? Or? I told you to run the ball more. I mean, you're the head coach. When you're the head coach, you're on the headset too, You could tell the OC to call a run play. Like what do you? I want to run the ball more. Okay, you should have told me, D'Amico. Like what? I think we should use Damian Pierce more. Okay, put him in the game. I don't know what. That's his guy. And then he fired his guy. It's weird. Bill Adams says, "Who making the first Mougey emoji? The Mougey emoji. Bougie Darren Mougey. We need a Mougey emoji. Maybe we just call him Emoji. He'd be Emoji. That's such a Mougey move." Emoji. So we're just waiting on confirmation. It's kind of crappy that Josina put that out there, to be honest, if it's not solid. We did another slightly annoying, well, in other news, I will say, the Falcons have gone ahead and hired Mike Rutenberg. So Mike Rutenberg goes to the Falcons. Makes sense. Rudy's a good coach. And so Olbrecht is hiring some of his boys back. Not unexpected, but Mike Rutenberg, linebacker coach for the Jets over the past 4 years, will now do the same over in Atlanta, although they're giving him a bump in title to defensive pass game coordinator. Not sure why, but He's a linebacker coach. He's a good coach. He did a good job with Quincy. And Samini makes a good point. With Ulbrich and Rutenberg in Atlanta, the Falcons could make a run at Jamie and Sherwood, though there'll be a lot of teams that are probably going to make a run at Jamie and Sherwood if we do not lock that young man up. They won't be the only ones who want a good linebacker like he is. So that's some slight news, and it's to be expected. All of our coaches are going to go elsewhere. I mean, I don't think we're going to retain anyone other than our speculations about Hackett, which were more comedic based than fact based. So yeah, that's where we stand. Crazy NFL news. I guess there's going to be a crazy news coming down the pike. TL says if he hits on his draft picks, we got to call him Money Mougey. Yeah, that's true. That's a good one. Money Mougey. Money Mougey. McLaren Darren. Let's see here. Get that going like that. So oddly, we haven't heard any real news being released about Aaron Glenn's staff, though we heard plenty of information that that's what he's working on, that's what he's thinking through, that's what he's doing. We have not heard any announcements about the staff since we heard about the announcement of Glenn as the coach. NYJ Matt is talking about Mooge. And as though he's our guy, NYJ Matt is usually pretty well informed. NYJ Matt, 55 minutes ago, first role for Darren Mougey is to let Garrett Wilson know he will not be considering any trade demands and hand him an extension. Good first order of business. All right, so I don't know. I don't know how much longer we're going to have to sit around here waiting for this freaking news to break. But anyways, well, TL, we can't know anything yet. I keep telling people this. We can't know anything yet. We got to know who our GM is. We got to know who the coaching staff is. We got to know what kind of defense we're running. We got to know what kind of offense we're running. We got to know what we're doing with Rodgers and Adams and Lazard. Until you know those things, it's hard to have an opinion in pick 7. But the way I see it, there is a bucket of guys, all of whom we could use. We could use Will Johnson. We could use Mason Graham. We could use Abdul Carter. We could use even if we wanted to go Will Campbell, though that's a little high for him. We could use so basically all the people who are likely to be available will fit our roster. So, you know, for example, if the three amigos, Rodgers, Adams, and Lazard, are gone, then we're doing a total reboot of everything. You just take the best player available, truly, and it doesn't really matter because we're just rebuilding and we just got to build it up. If those 3 come back, then you're going to construct your roster very specifically. And you need to know what type of defense are we running. Aaron Glenn has experience in both the 4-3 and the 3-4, for example. So we need to know what he's going to run here. Is he going to run what he did in Detroit? Then we're going to run a 4-3, and then Mason Graham becomes more important, more prominent, let's say, than if we're running a 3-4. And more likely, we're probably running a 4-3, but you got to know that first. And then Will Johnson becomes super important if, for example, Aaron Glenn's going to run 43% man, which he did last year. Other years in his defenses, he ran less man coverage. But if we're going to run 43% man, you better believe we need Will Johnson, along with Sauce Gardner, or I should say Ahmad Gardner, and so forth and so on. So we need more information before we know what we're going to do. But the good news is there's a lot of good players available. We're going to get one of them, put it that way. But to what degree we need this or that, we don't know until we know who's the coaching staff and what are we doing with the three amigos. And so those decisions have to come before we really start talking in depth about which guy is best for number 7. But the good news is there's enough good players that we should get a blue chip player at number 7. Put it that way. So then that's the way to think about it. Yeah, PC, we just talked about that. Well, to be honest with you, Venom, I checked YouTube and I saw that they were going live, and I was like, well, I guess it must be true if everybody's going live. But uh, yeah, I like to keep it factual. I mean, and I was actually hoping, so I saw everybody going live, and I was like, well, I guess I'll go live. And then I was like, but I'll just keep an eye on it, and then while we're live, it'll probably get confirmed. You know what I mean? But that has not been the case. That has not been the case. But it's not a done deal. Zach Rosenblatt telling you it's not. And I believe him. So here's some breaking news that's to be expected. Emeka Egbuka, the great wide receiver out of Ohio State, says he will enter the 2025 NFL draft. Not to be unexpected, but there's a wide receiver for somebody. And also that kid, Judkins, the running back from Ohio State, also declared. So there's running back for some team, probably not us, because we already pretty loaded in the running back position right now. But Emeka Egbuka will be a first-round pick probably for someone, and he is going into the NFL draft. So there's some minor news there. Now I will say that Josina is almost always accurate, even if she's a little, even if she's comes out with something before everybody else. It's almost always she's accurate. So I don't consider Josina, for example, a bad reporter in any way, shape, or form. So now, should she have put this out before everybody? I mean, she has the information and she's almost always right. And she did say is getting. She said Darren Mougey is getting. She didn't say has been finalized. As you know, the thing with Josina, you got to be careful with how she words things because she's very particular how she does it. So, is getting. That just means he eventually will get it. She didn't say it was finalized. She didn't say it was signed. She didn't say it's everybody else has been told to go home and stop thinking about it. She said he is getting the job. So that's her language. Now, she will often write her tweets and her missives in a very unique language and stuff like that. So you got to be careful with her in interpreting her language sometimes because she writes things in weird ways at times. But that's what she said. And then Rosenblatt fired back. But the dog who's not barking is Connor Hughes. Connor Hughes, Country Club Connor, of course. And you notice he's oddly silent here. Even Dick Chimney has a tweet related to Bobby Slowick, even though Adam Schechter called him Booby Slowick in his tweet. Antoine Staley has a response tweet. So the Jet beat reporters are awake and alive, so that's good. But you notice no tweets at all by Connor Hughes for the last. When the last Connor Hughes tweet was 17 hours ago, when he was talking specifically to Robert Saleh, when that whole story broke about that crazy ass story about Liam Cohen, and Connor Hughes' source was Robert Saleh himself, and his tweet was, "I'm talking to Robert Saleh now. He told me he never flew to Jacksonville today. He's currently in Jersey with his family." So obviously he has a direct line to Saleh, as do a lot of the reporters. Saleh, that's one of Saleh's problems. A little too friendly with the reporters, in my opinion. But nonetheless, so that was his last tweet 17 hours ago. And as we all know, Country Club Connor is the Jets' mouthpiece a lot of the times. And so Country Club Connor Hughes has no tweets for the last since 17 hours ago, since yesterday. So that's a little weird. Now, maybe the Jets are just not concerned about this tweet that Josina put out there, and also maybe they just leaked it to Rosenblatt instead. Rosenblatt, of course, has his own sources, and a lot of them are the same as Hughes's, but maybe they just told Rosenblatt and not Hughes this time. Because Rosenblatt says, according to sources, multiple sources, which you'd have to think are Jet sources. So we thought we had ourselves a story. We thought we had ourselves a breaking news and a need for an emergency live stream, but apparently not the case. Apparently not the case. Unfortunately. Venom, yeah, I'm not saying she's not accurate, but she can be wrong. Well, she could be. It depends how you look at it. That's a problem with Josina. It's like it all depends how you look at it. She said he is getting. So if he gets the job like in 2 hours from now, she can say, "Well, I told you he's gonna get it." So, yeah, and this is the thing, TL, that you have to understand is it's almost like these days you have to understand the biases of all the reporters in one way or another. Like, for example, Bert Breer is a Patriot fan. Why? He grew up in New England. He's a Patriot fan. That's what he is. And so that doesn't mean he, is going to, kiss their butts all the time. But you just have to understand that about Bert Breer, the pioneer. He grew up a Patriot fan, and he's more in fact, when he puts out something about the Patriots, you give a little bit more credence to it because that's how he came up. Right. And so it's almost like you have to know certain things about certain people. Like, Antoine Staley covered the Dolphins for a long time, for example. So when he says something about the Dolphins, you take it a little more seriously, even though he's covering the Jets now. He's still got those sources, right? Whereas Connor Hughes doesn't have Miami Dolphins sources. It's almost like you have to vet these journalists as closely as you do anything else. Now, all right, so Tony, here's the latest from Tony Rank. I don't know who this is, but it was reposted by Antoine Staley. Broncos assistant GM Darren Mougey conducted second interview with Jets on Thursday, emerging as a strong candidate to get their GM job. He is back in Broncos building today, waiting to hear word. Josina Anderson is reporting he will get the spot. Mougey told me after first interview that it felt like a good fit. He is a former college, and that's wrong. He's a former college quarterback wide receiver. This person said tight end. That's inaccurate. With strong chops in scouting. He is definitely ready for next step, this guy says. Troy Rank, whoever that is. Troy Rank is columnist at the Denver Post. So this is a real person. Columnist at the Denver Post, host of the Broncos podcast with Troy Rank. Insider Mile High Sports, 2019 Colorado Sportscaster of the Year. All right, so this is a real guy, Tony Rank. And he's saying, not yet. Not yet. So that's the latest there. So Darren Mougey, now we know where Darren Mougey is. He's in the Broncos building right now. We know his physical location. Now it's 1:45 p.m. on the East Coast in America. What are the Jets waiting for? What are they doing? Shouldn't they know? They finished all of this yesterday. They finished up last night. Why are we? I mean, what's going on here? Now it could be just negotiating with the agent on all of the money and everything, but uh, you would think that they would have made the decision by now. That's the other thing I was thinking. I was like, all right, this is when Josina put that out. I was like, well, that timing kind of works because you'd think I mean, they only had 3 candidates and Newmark was in a while ago. The other 2 were in on the same day. You would think they'd have their decision made by now. It's 1:45 p.m. Let's go, people. We gotta move quick on this. We got to start assembling our staff, figuring out who else is going to be added or not, who's going to get fired, who's going to be added and minus, subtracted, et cetera, et cetera. It's going to be the structure of this front office. Are we going to get some sort of experienced advisor in there, some type? Because don't forget, if it goes to Mougey, well, if it goes to any of the candidates, actually, that'll be a first-time GM. And we also have a first-time head coach. So do we need some experienced old heads in here around to advise people as some advisory people? Like I would like to go and get Nick Saban to come in some advisory capacity. One of the greatest football minds in the history of football is just sitting out there as a media entity. Why don't we hire him for some easy job for him to just give us some advice, give us some ideas, give us some of that brilliant brain power of yours, Mr. Saban. Why can't we hire him for some sort of advisory role? Yeah, something like that. But yeah, well, Josina says she had a league source. So a league source means not a Jet source. And the league knows because the contracts have to get approved, I guess. The agent sends the contract in for approval or whatever, make sure there's no shenanigans. So league sources know for a variety of reasons. They hear from agents, they hear from this and that. So she has a wide variety of sources. She's an excellent reporter. She's been reporting on this stuff for 20 plus years. So there's no problems that way. I guess we'll try to see what happens. I think maybe by 2 o'clock, we're going to get an answer. Let's put 2 o'clock on our minds as a way to get an answer here. With all of this information starting to leak out here, maybe this puts, I mean, I don't know what could be holding up this decision-making process. They only have 3 guys. They're giving Aaron Glenn a lot to say about it. What could be holding this up other than maybe just negotiating the final details of the contract, I guess. Yeah, yeah. Shouldn't be a late runner, I don't think. I don't think so, Phil. I think it's more just it's never done until it's done, and they're working on the contract with the agent. And if I had to guess, he's going to get a boatload of money. Come work at this crap show. So we'll just give it a minute and see if we get any breaking news in the next 10 minutes. Westhoff said he'd be willing to be in a, yeah, so exactly. So that's one old head, and that's good for special teams. And Westhoff has a lot of experience, so that's a good thing. But do we need like a front office old head to come in? Maybe Rick Spielman. I mean, now we know Rick Spielman. Maybe we hire Pretty Ricky to come in consulting capacity, something like that. Or do we just keep? We'll probably keep Phil Savage on. I would think Phil Savage will probably become the assistant general manager. I would think. There's no reason to get rid of Phil Savage. I don't think. So we're just checking. Checking the wires. I think we'll give it about maybe another 10 minutes, see if we can get some confirmation. We'll give it to 2 o'clock straight up on the East Coast, see if we can get some information. Let me know in the chat. Anything else? Any other topics you want to discuss? Any other hot topics? It does kind of suck that we have to wait until all this stuff happens before we can really have any substantive discussions about the roster, the draft, the free agents. Everything's TBD at this point in time because we just don't have enough information. We don't know what type of defense we're running. We don't know what's going on with the three amigos. We don't know enough. So that kind of puts a damper on off-season chit chat about what we're going to do, this, that, or the other thing. What we do know, Pete Carroll has been hired as the HC of the LVR. So the Raiders got themselves a head coach. And oh, yeah. What about this? Having a GM younger than your quarterback. Well, this assumes we keep old man Rodgers. But yeah, I mean, look, you could look at it like we're breaking ground, Phil. We're breaking new ground. We're doing things no one's ever done before, Phil. No one's ever done these things. No one's ever done these things. We're doing them because we're the Jets, baby. We're going to take this thing to the limit. You know? Venom says, what about Kaylee? What about it? What about Kaylee? We talked about Kaylee earlier, Venom. Weren't you here? Nick Kaylee, not Nikki Haley. Not Nikki Haley. She would be a terrible OC. Nick Kaylee would be a young OC, up and comer. No play calling experience, but very well regarded off the Sean McVay tree. So you hope he does good. What else is there to say about Nick Kaylee? He's very highly thought of around the league. We interviewed him. I think we interviewed him for the head coaching position in the Saleh era, didn't we? Or did we interview him for OC? I think. Well, anyway, we interviewed him before, so we hold him in high regard, as does the rest of the league. Sean McVay had great things to say about Nick Kaylee. So that's really all we know. Wriggle says, if the Brick Johnson rumor true, we had a teenage GM last season. Yeah, I'm sure he was doing everything. He was probably making the wire transactions, making trade proposals. We need to make a trade with the Jets. Get Brick Johnson on the phone quickly. We know a 17-year-old knows what's going on with the contract, but it's a very complex contract. Doesn't matter. Get Brick Johnson on the phone. He's a freaking genius. Venom says, oh, well, I just gave you a rundown. Nick Kaylee, he got his start in New England, was in New England from 2015 to 2022 as different positions, offensive assistant, tight end coach, tight end and fullbacks coach. Then he went over to the Rams in 23, tight end coach. This year he was tight end coach and pass game coordinator, thought of as an up-and-comer, two-time Super Bowl champion, has a lot of college experience as well before he got his start with the Patriots, and is well regarded in all circles. Sean McVay, very high praise for Kaylee, and hopes, obviously McVay said he hopes he doesn't lose him, but he understands if he does because he's a very bright guy, blah, blah, blah. So, but he's never called plays in the NFL. So it's a bit of a risk, of course, but thought of as an up-and-coming coach. So if we got him, it'd be a good hire, but nothing's certain yet. We haven't heard anything about about that. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they asked him. They asked McVay the other day about him because of all the rumors of him leaving, and he said, "I haven't heard that he's leaving yet, but I hope he doesn't." Then he praised him very highly. Now here's some interesting news from Ryan Kartji. Pete Carroll will continue co-teaching his class at USC, Game is Life, despite being hired as the Las Vegas head coach. The university tells LA Times. I'm not so sure I like that. So we're going to hire a head coach who's going to continue teaching in college. He's got time for this? What's going on here? Why is Pete Carroll going to continue co-teaching his class at USC? I don't think that's good. Antoine Staley said this is cool. I don't. How is this cool? You're a Las Vegas Raider. Put yourself in the shoes of a Las Vegas Raider fan. They just hired 73-year-old gum chomper in chief Pete Carroll, and then the first thing you hear he's going to do is continue co-teaching a class at USC. What? Don't you want all of his attention on being the Raiders head coach and figuring out how to improve that team? I don't think this is cool at all. That's my reaction. What are you talking about, Antoine Staley? How is this cool? Let's see what the reaction to this is. Somebody says, how's that ever going to work? Somebody else says, we got a part-time coach. You got a part-time 73-year-old gum-chomping coach. Yeah. Somebody else says, I got a bad feeling about this. I got a bad feeling about this. Yeah, that's pretty much how I feel about it. I mean, it's good for USC, I guess. You can continue using Pete Carroll's name to attract students and so forth, but I don't see how that's good for the Raiders or the Raider fans. You get a part-time coach who's also co-teaching a class. Hey, I'm a coach. I'm a teacher at a university. I can do it all. I mean, you're 73 years old. There's only so many hours in a day. There's only so much energy you could have. I don't understand how that's good for the Raiders. I don't think that's good for the Raiders. I don't want my head coach doing anything. I didn't want Saleh doing a commercial for the toothpaste. Remember he did that toothpaste commercial? I was like, why does he have time to do toothpaste commercials? I didn't want him doing anything. I didn't want him playing golf, let alone toothpaste commercials. Remember that one? Robert Saleh did a toothpaste commercial. Remember that one? I was like, what's this all about? I don't want him doing toothpaste commercials. I don't want him doing nothing but coaching the team. Where's a guy who needs coaching? Let me coach him up. Let's draw up some plays, Pete Carroll. Not draw up on a chalkboard while you're teaching a class. Maybe he needs to supplement his income because Mark Davis is paying him bottom dollar prices. But I mean, come on. Come on. What the hell's going on with that? The hell's going on with that? Well, we got 2 minutes to 1400, so we'll just stay on here for a couple of minutes to see if somebody wants to. Now, we're going to come back tonight. We'll have a Friday night hang. So for those in the chat tonight, I was planning to do a Friday night hang anyway, tonight at 6 p.m. So if you want to come back, we'll do another live stream at 6 p.m. Maybe we'll have more information, maybe not. Maybe we'll just shoot the breeze about other things. Maybe other news will have broken by that time. But we thought we had breaking news here about Darren Mougey, Darren Mougey the emoji. But so far, no confirmation of said news broken by Josina Anderson, which was very strange to see it broken by Josina and then nobody else confirmed it whatsoever. Which doesn't mean it's wrong, just means she was probably out in front and probably before everyone else has it. Now, it'll be interesting if he doesn't get the job. What do we think of Josina then? I guess everyone can make a mistake every once in a while, but she's normally very accurate. She's normally the Las Vegas Raiders are putting out a video or content about the quarterback room in review. I don't think they should be doing that. Aiden O'Connell was not good last year. Why are they doing that? I don't know. Raiders continue to be in flux. We did get information that Pete Carroll, the new HC of the LVR, is going to continue co-teaching his class at USC. And I guess the class is called Game is Life. Would you take a class called Game is Life? The hell is that? Despite being hired as the LVR HC, the university tells LA Times. Why would you continue teaching a class at USC called Game is Life? Is this, are you a serious academic, Pete Carroll? Is this really important to you that you get to teach Game is Life? Whatever that is? Maybe he teaches them the proper number of gum sticks to put in your mouth at any point in time. That's the key teaching point of that. All right, it's now 14:02 here on the East Coast of America. It's January the 24th in the year of our Lord 2025. And we do not have any confirmation about Darren Mougey or anybody else being officially named the GM of the NYJ. And so I guess we'll just cut it short here. Indy Jets, what's up, buddy? Phil Adams. Was the toothpaste the best version of itself? I don't know, Phil Adams, but I wasn't happy when he did that. I was like, well, do we really need to be doing commercials, Coach? Really? Venom says, I'll try to chat back with you, Generalissimo. All right, Venom. So we'll be back at 6 p.m. tonight for a Friday night hang. Come by tonight, hang with us, and we'll see if any news has happened. If not, we'll just shoot the breeze. Why not? And maybe by then we'll have confirmation of this Josina Anderson report or any more information from Josina herself or anyone else about all of these goings on